So with Next.js 14.1, it seems like they finally managed to fix parallel routes and intercepting routes. Now, when I was using this before, it was very buggy. It was not even worth using, to be honest. But after playing around with it for a while now, I think it's finally in an acceptable state to use. So I'm going to be showing you how to use parallel and intercepting routes to implement a intercepting modal, which is an extremely powerful feature that I actually used in my real job. So here I have a basic app to demo intercepting modals. So as you can see, when I click here, there's a loading state, and after it's done fetching, it's going to display a modal. And the cool thing about this modal is that when you copy the URL and you go to it from an external source, it should still work, but it will bring you into its own dedicated non-modal page. So that's what it means to be an intercepting modal. It will intercept this page and show you a modal, but if you go to it from an external source, then it will show you its own dedicated page, and this is very nice. We actually use this at our workplace. So we have pictures, right? And when you click on it, it will show you the picture inside a modal. But if you share the URL and someone click on it, then they will be taken to its own dedicated page that is non-modal. And also the main benefit of using an intercepting modal is that you can fetch from the server. So this is fetching from the server. And if you don't use an intercepting modal, so just using the traditional modal, you would have to use something like React Query to do the fetching on the client side. And that's just not as fast or as convenient. And I'm also going to be showing you how to implement a catch-all page. So when you click here, it should take you to another page and also close the modal. So previously this didn't work, but I managed to get it working now. So I guess they did manage to fix a lot of the bugs. By the way, the docs that they provide are very bad. I had a very hard time trying to make this work. It was even harder a couple months ago. And I do not recommend that you follow their example here that they provided. This example is terrible. I looked through it. I don't know why they decided to do it this way. But if you look at it, you'll probably not even understand what they're doing. They're using create polar here. I don't know why that's necessary. Once again, I don't recommend that you use their example as a reference. Just use this repo in the description as an example instead. All right, let's get into it. So the first thing you need to do is have a page that you want to intercept with your intercepting modal. So here I have a photos/ID page, and this is the page that we're going to be intercepting with our modal up here. So that's the second step. Create another folder called @modal. It doesn't have to be @modal. It can be @photos-modal, for example, but you would use this syntax. And inside that, we need to have this bracket dot photos. And the bracket dot, it's static, but the photos needs to match whatever you're intercepting. So here we're intercepting photos/ID. So up here it's going to be the same. So this is our modal page. So here I'm just waiting for 2 seconds, but this is where you would fetch your data. So you would fetch your data here and then pass that into your modal as prop. Alright, now let's look at the modal component. And here we actually need to use the dialog element. This is the easiest way to do it because when you use the dialog element, it comes with some built-in styling, so you don't have to do all the styling yourself. And when you click the escape key, it will automatically close the modal. And here we need to use useEffect to call the show modal method that comes with the dialog element. We also have a close modal function, and this function basically just checks if the target is equal to the dialog element. If it is equal to the dialog element, we call router.back, which will close the modal. And the reason why we want to do it this way is that when you click on the outside of the modal, it will close. See, which is nice. And of course, when you click escape, it will also close. And by the way, if you want to style your modal with Tailwind, all you have to do is use the backdrop pseudo class. I'm just making the background a little darker and adding a backdrop blur. I recommend that you just copy this component. I will leave the repo link in the description, and you can customize it however you want. And if you want to close your modal by navigating to a different page, then you would need to implement a catch-all route. So here I basically just have a link to the catch-all page, and here is the catch-all page. You need to use this exact syntax catch-all, and here you just have a catch-all page that returns null. Don't ask me why, it's just this is what you need to make it work. So after we're done with all that, go to your layout file that is on the same level as your @modal folder. So here my layout file is actually the root layout, but it doesn't have to be the root layout. Just whatever layout is on the same level as your @modal folder. So here we need to destructure the modal and then use that modal in the body here, like this. And whatever you call your folder is the same name that you need to put here. So here I'm just calling it @modal, but if I call it @photos-modal, then here it needs to be the same name. Alright, now the final step, you need to add 2 default files. So here I have a file called default.tsx. You need to just use this exact syntax, return null. You need to place the first file on the same level as your @modal folder, and then inside that @modal folder, just add another one with the exact same syntax. How you have to do this, you just have to for it to work. And this is optional, but if you want to show a loading state, then you would also need a loading.tsx file. So this is what the loading state looks like. When you click, it's showing a loading skeleton. So if you want this effect, then this is what you would have to do. Here I'm using a div, and this will act as our backdrop. And the skeleton is our modal content. All this styling does is center the modal. And by the way, I did try to use a dialog element instead and have the skeleton inside of that. For some reason, it just doesn't work. So this skeleton is from Shadcn UI. I don't know why it doesn't work with the dialog element, but it doesn't, so I'm just gonna leave it in there. And if you like this tutorial, consider liking and subscribing. That will encourage me to make more content.